Good afternoon, children.
Afternoon, ma'am.
You all had your lunch? Yes.
Yes,
Feeling
ma'am.
sleepy? Are you feeling sleepy? After having heavy meal, sometimes you will feel sleepy. No, na? So you can summarize what we learned or what we covered last class. Any doubts in what we covered last class? No. Okay. Anila, what did we learn last class? One by one, you can summarize the points. We'll start with life. What is meant by life?
Life is a unique and complex organism.
Organism. Check if you have the lecture notes with you, you can refer.
Complex molecules.
Organization.
Expressing organization of molecules expressing through chemical reaction
That
then
leads to
that
that-
leads to
Hmm.
growth, development, and responses, adoption and reproduction.
adaptation and reproduction. And the next point, Lakshmi. Next point. What is it?
Living organism.
Hmm.
Living organism is a self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli.
Good. What are the 5 properties of living organisms that we discussed? Tom Sinton.
Growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness.
Good. Then about growth, what did we discuss, Emilyn? Regarding growth, what did we discuss?
Growth in living organism means increase in mass and number of cell by cell division.
Okay. How can you differentiate between the growth taking place in plants and animals? Eva?
Yes, ma'am. In plants grow throughout their lifespan, but for animals, they grow up until a certain age, but cells still divide to heal tissues.
Good. Then the next point that we discussed was about which property we discussed after that? Valentina? Shabiri?
Reproduction.
What is meant by reproduction? How do you define it?
It is a process by which an organism gives rise to its progeny.
Okay. So we just reach there. We'll continue. So the second property we were dealing with, and from lower classes, we had been learning that this is also another important property of living organisms. So let us analyze this particular property. It's a production of progeny or offsprings having features similar to those of parents. The method of producing their own kind or producing young ones, and the progeny will be having similar features as that of their parents. And organisms, they can reproduce asexually as well as sexually. In class 10, you have learned about the different methods of reproduction, asexual and sexual method of reproduction you have learned. And some of the asexual methods of reproduction you have learned in detail. Can you list some of the asexual methods of reproduction? Anybody?
Budding,
Budding,
Binary fission.
Budding, binary fission, then
vegetative propagation,
regeneration,
then
vegetative propagation,
vegetative propagation,
Fragmentation.
fragmentation. So you all are remembering those methods of reproduction that we learned last year. So asexual methods of reproduction, so many points you listed out, so many methods you listed out. So you know that organisms, they are capable of reproducing asexually and sexually. Some of the organisms can carry out both methods. And some of them, they are limited to sexual methods of reproduction. Take, for example, in the case of human beings, we carry out only sexual method of reproduction, and some of the organism can carry out both. The unicellular organisms. So here what you see in the picture is certain unicellular organisms, growth, reproduction, both can be considered same because they reproduce by cell division and it is by the same method that they grow. We cannot differentiate between growth and reproduction in unicellular organisms. Say for example, amoeba. Amoeba divides by binary fission. That is how they grow. When the cells are increasing in number, when the cells are multiplying, they are growing at the same time, they are reproducing. Cells increase in number, and once a cell undergoes division, the parent cell will no longer exist. Instead, it will change into two daughter cells. So you can consider that in unicellular organism, there is not much difference between growth and reproduction. Both processes take place by means of cell division. Because in binary fission also, you know, once the cell is fully developed, it will divide. First, the nucleus will divide, which is followed by the division of the cytoplasm, or the entire body will get divided into two, forming two new daughter cells. So once again, in unicellular organisms, there is not much difference between growth and reproduction, or else you can say both are same because both are carried out by the method of cell division. And here you can see the picture of a mule and worker honeybee. What do you know about a mule? How is a mule formed?
Donkey and
Donkey and horse. Male donkey and female horse when crossbred, mule is formed. And what is speciality of mule? Any special feature you have learned? It's a sterile animal. It's sterile. Means it is not capable of reproducing. If you want to produce a new mule, then again you will have to carry out crossbreeding. But a mule cannot reproduce. Clear? But mule is a living thing which is incapable of reproduction. Now, worker honeybee. In a honeybee colony, you have learned that there are three main groups or three main, we can categorize them into three. Queen bee, drone bee, worker bees. Worker bees are females. As the name suggests, they are the one who collect the nectar. Whereas drone bees are male bees and queen is female bee. Queen and the drone are concerned with the reproduction of the colony. They mate and they lay eggs and they help in reproducing. Whereas the worker honeybee, its duty is to, or they collect nectar and store. Clear? So worker honeybee, the speciality is that they cannot reproduce. They cannot reproduce. Worker bees, they are not involved in reproduction. They are actually the offsprings of the queen bee. But they cannot reproduce. So they are sterile. Mule is also sterile. If you want to raise a new mule, then again crossbreeding should be done with a male donkey and a female horse. But both are living beings, living things. Still they cannot reproduce. But we call them as living things. And at the same time, if you take human beings, for example, there are many infertile couples. But they are living things, but they are not capable of reproducing. This means reproduction also cannot be considered as a defining property of living organisms. Many organisms like mules, worker bees, infertile human couples, they are sterile. They cannot reproduce. They cannot produce their young ones, but still they come under the category of living things. So reproduction is also not a perfect defining property of living organisms. Clear, children? So we already completed two property. The first one was growth. And in the case of growth also, we learned that non-living things too can grow if it is increase in the size and mass. Examples that we listed was mountain, and mountain can increase in size by the accumulation of particles, or even sand mound, heap of sand that also can keep on increasing in size. by the accumulation of more and more sand particles. Or boulder, another example given in your textbook. Large piece of rock, they also, by the deposition of more and more particles, boulder or that rock piece also can increase in its size. But still, they are non-living things. So hence, we are not considering growth as a defining property of living things. The same thing is applicable here also. There are many living things who cannot reproduce. Hence, reproduction cannot be considered as a perfect defining property of living organisms. Examples listed here are worker bees. They cannot reproduce. There are many human couples who cannot produce their young ones. Then mule, not only mule, many of the crossbred animals, they cannot reproduce. When you are combining two different species, they cannot, or the hybrid produced cannot reproduce. Again, if you want to form more hybrids of that type, you have to go for crossbreeding. So these are sterile. These are some examples for sterile living things. Hence, reproduction cannot be considered as a defining property of living organisms. Am I clear to you, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Moving on to the next point, metabolism. Metabolism, already in the morning, I think first period we discussed what is meant by metabolism. Let me see if somebody is remembering it. Devika, what is metabolism?
Metabolism includes catabolism and anabolism.
Good.
Anabolism is the building up of substances, and catabolism is the breaking up of substances.
That means metabolism is the sum total of
So, anabolism and catabolism.
sum totals, you can say it is a sum total of all the reactions taking place in our body. So now we are going to see whether this metabolism can be considered as a defining property of living things or not. Already we ruled out two such features, growth and reproduction. We learned that it cannot be considered as a defining property. Now let's see whether this metabolism, this particular property, can be considered as a defining property of living organisms. It's a sum total of all the biochemical reactions taking place inside a living system or a living organism. It's a defining feature of living organisms. This particular feature is considered as a defining property. Growth and reproduction, we ruled out those two, the possibilities of considering those two as the defining properties of living organisms, stating reasons. But this one, the third one, metabolism, the sum total of all the biochemical reactions taking place inside a living system. This you can consider as a defining feature or defining property of living organisms. Metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems. See, normally these metabolic reactions are taking place inside living systems. That is a definition that we learned just now. It's taking place within the body of an organism, of a living organism. But we can carry out these metabolic reactions outside the body, in vitro or outside the body in cell-free systems. So normally these reactions in our body, if you take the case of a human body, these reactions are taking place within the cell, inside the cell. Say for example, respiration, it is taking place inside the cell. Cellular respiration, we say. So these are taking place within the cell. But when these metabolic reactions are carried out outside our body, there won't be any cell. It is carried out in cell-free system, means not inside the cell. Without or in the absence of a cell, these reactions can be carried out in a laboratory. These metabolic reactions taking place in vitro means outside the body, are not living things. So even though these can be carried out, now some might advocate that, these reactions, scientists can carry it out in the laboratory conditions. But when it is taking place in outside the body, that is a cell-free system. So when cells are not there, you cannot consider it as a living thing. Those are living reactions, but not living things. Even though metabolic reactions can be carried out outside the body of a living organism, we cannot consider those metabolic reactions as or taking place or wherever it is taking place. Maybe it is a laboratory. We cannot consider it as a living thing. But these are living reactions. Living reactions means reactions which normally take place inside the body of a living organism. Hence, we can consider metabolism as a well-defining or a defining property of living organism because it can take place inside the body. If we need a cell, it's only inside the cell, it can, both cases, whether it is outside or inside the cell, it can take place. But when it is taking place outside the cell, we can just call it as a living reaction, not a living thing. So that is possible in the presence of a cell. It is possible only in living things. So you can consider it as a property of, defining property of living things. I'll repeat once again, metabolism is the sum total of all the reactions, all the biochemical reactions taking place inside a living system. We consider, or scientists consider, this as a defining property of living organism. The reason is, even though we can carry out these metabolic reactions outside the body, that is possible only in cell-free system. Only in cell-free system, in a laboratory, we can carry it out. But when it is taking place in such a way, you cannot consider it as a living thing. Only living reactions. We can call these metabolic reactions taking place outside the cell or outside the body of organism as living reactions, but not living things. Any doubt? Children, any doubt? Okay. Moving on to the next point, cellular organization. You have been learning from class 8 that all living things are made up of cells. Living things are made up of cells. Depending upon the complexity of the organism, either it can remain as cells or cells can be grouped into tissues, tissues into organs, organ systems, etc. But all living things are made up of cells. That is another property of living things. Here you can see both plant and animal cell. All living organisms, they are made up of cells, either one cell or many cells. So based on the number of cells, we can categorize organisms into unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular, single-celled organism, amoeba, paramecium, etc. Whereas organisms which are made up of several cells, more than one cell, you call them as multicellular organisms. If you take the case of human beings, we are made up of billions of cells. So all living things are made up of cells. Cells are absent in non-living things. It is also considered as a defining property of living organisms. So 3 points we have considered, or we consider it as the, how many we said? 2 now. Metabolism and cellular organization. One more point is remaining. So these 2 out of 4 we have discussed, 2 we ruled out, and the next 2, that is metabolism and cellular organization, are considered as the defining properties of living things. Now we will move on to the next point, that is consciousness. It is the ability of the organisms. It's the ability of the organism to sense their surroundings or sense their environment and respond to these environmental stimuli. Living things, they are sensitive to stimuli. They respond to stimuli. Stimuli, anything which can produce a response, like light, water, temperature, touch, chemicals, pollutants, all these are stimuli, environmental stimuli. In response to these stimuli, living things will respond. Consciousness means the ability to sense their environment, not only sensing, they sense and respond accordingly. They are capable of sensing the environment and responding to these environmental stimuli. So that is also an important property of living things, because non-living things cannot respond, they cannot feel, they cannot respond to these stimuli. It is the ability of the organisms to sense their environment and respond accordingly to these environmental stimuli like light, water, temperature, other organisms, chemicals, pollutants, etc. Some of the examples are displayed over here where organisms are responding to stimuli. Yes? Clear? Shall I proceed, children?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
All organisms are aware of their surroundings. Continuation of the same point. So in the first figure or the first GIF, you can find a touch me not plant. Once you touch it, it is responding to that touch and the leaves are drooping. The reason behind the drooping of leaves, the Gnostic movement we have learned in class 10. So that means it is folding, or the leaves are being folded. It is because they are sensitive. They are responding to the stimuli, that is touch. In the second figure, you can see Venus flytrap. So when that frog is entering it, the plant is sensing it and it is closing. Realizing that a prey has been trapped, it is closing that parts of it, trap. It closes it so that it gets, this particular frog will get trapped inside that. Later this will get digested. It's a carnivorous plant. You have learned, no, about carnivorous, insectivorous plants and all? Yes or no? You have learned about insectivorous plants? Why do they feed on insects? Mainly they feed, the trap is meant for actually capturing the insects. Why? Why do they feed on insects? Because they are tired of eating vegetarian food. They want to try non-veg food for a change. What is the reason? There is a solid reason why these plants like pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, they feed on insects. Something is lacking in their soil. So they want to compensate for that. Class 7, I think you have learned. Anybody? Usually these plants are found in soil that lacks in nitrogen. So nitrogen is very important for the survival of plants. And hence, to compensate for this lack of nitrogen in the soil, they feed on insects and they obtain nitrogen from these insects. That is why they feed on insects. So anyhow, what we mean to say is that all organisms, they are aware of their surroundings. They respond, they sense the stimuli and they respond to their surroundings. We can consider this also as a defining property of living organisms. And a bonus point, we are self-conscious human beings. All living things are having consciousness, but we are self-conscious. Human being, human is the only organism having self-consciousness, self-awareness. Clear? Living organism, generally when we say they are conscious, they have consciousness, they are sensitive, they respond, they feel, they respond to the external stimuli. But we have an added advantage. We are aware of ourselves, not only regarding the surroundings. We are aware of our inner self. We are self-aware. We have self-awareness. Clear? All the points or different properties we have listed out. You want a quick recap of all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, quickly we will have a recap of all the points that we discussed. Only the properties, those two definitions I'm not going to deal with. we started with growth. And we learned growth takes place by means of cell division. Growth is the increase in the number and mass of cells taking place by means of cell division. Increase in number and mass of cells by cell division. In plants, the growth continues throughout their lifespan. Till they die or till they get destroyed, they'll continue to grow. Whereas animals grow only up to a certain age. So beyond that age, cell division will continue to repair the damaged tissues in our body to compensate for the lost cells. But growth cannot be considered as a defining property of living organisms, because if you consider growth as the increase in the mass and size, even non-living things grow, like mountains, sand mounds, boulders. Those are some examples of non-living things which will increase in its size and mass by the accumulation of more and more particles. Hence, growth cannot be considered as a defining property of living organisms. But the main difference, there is a difference, but in living organism, growth is taking place from within, from inside. Whereas in case of non-living things, the addition of the particles, it takes place on the external surface, on the outside. The growth is not from inside, but the accumulation of particles are taking place on its surface. Then next point is reproduction. Reproduction is the method or the process by which organisms produce their young ones. These young ones will resemble their parents. There are different methods of reproduction, both sexual and asexual methods of reproduction are there. Some organisms are capable of only asexual reproduction, whereas some are capable of only sexual reproduction. And another category, they can carry out both sexual and asexual methods of reproduction. In spite of all these, we cannot consider reproduction as a defining property of living organisms. The reason is there are so many living things, so many categories of living things who cannot reproduce. And one more point that we discussed was in unicellular organism, growth and reproduction, they are same because both processes, growth as well as reproduction, takes place by means of cell division. And here are the examples of living things who cannot reproduce. Due to that reason, we cannot consider reproduction as a defining property of living organisms. Then we moved on to metabolism, and we learned that it is a sum total of all the biochemical reactions taking place in living systems. We can carry out these reactions, metabolic reactions under laboratory conditions outside the body of a living organism, but we have to do, we'll be doing, or the scientists will be carrying out in a cell-free system. So within the cell, these processes cannot be carried out. So outside it can be carried out under laboratory conditions. These can be carried out. In such a case, you can consider them as living reactions, but not as living things. Hence, metabolism is a defining property of living organisms. And finally, we moved on to consciousness. Cellular organization, I missed out. All living things are made up of cells, either one cell or many cells. And cellular organization is also found only in living things. And finally, consciousness. All living things, they can respond to the external stimuli. They feel, they can respond. Different stimuli like touch, temperature, light, then chemicals. To all these environmental stimuli, living things will respond. They are conscious, or they have consciousness. That is the ability of the organisms to sense their environment and respond to these environmental stimuli. And human beings have an added advantage. We are self-conscious, or we have self-consciousness or self-awareness. We think, unlike other animals, we think and take decisions. It is a defining property of living organism. Hence, we can consider this as a living property because this is found only in living organisms. Consciousness is not found in any non-living thing. Clear, children? Yes? Any doubts? If I'm going a bit fast, you should tell me. I thought all these are very simple topic. So if I drag too much also, you will feel very bored. What is consciousness, Anjana? Connectivity issue, Anjana? Okay, no problem. Analyst?
It is the ability to respond.
Okay, Anjana, I'll give you chance later. If your connectivity is not very good now, you will get a chance later. Yes, Analyst?
It is the ability to respond to the environmental stimuli like water, etc. I don't know.
Mhm. Partially only I could understand.
It is the ability to respond the environmental stimuli,
First of all, what is to be done? They have to
aware of.
Who will help her? Atulya, what is meant by consciousness?
It is the ability of an organism to sense the environment and respond to the environmental stimuli.
It's reading, Atulya. It's reading. You close the book and read. Sorry, say. Close the book and tell me. Close. Yes.
It is the ability of an organism to sense the
Sense.
the environment and respond to the environmental stimuli.
Okay, Analyst, can you repeat?
It is the ability of an organism to sense the environment and respond to the environmental stimuli.
You're feeling so tired. Didn't take your lunch? You didn't take your lunch? Yes. I think it was too heavy. That's why you're feeling so tired. Why you don't consider growth as a defining property of living things? Abdul Hasif,
Yes, ma'am.
invisible man. I cannot
Ma'am.
see you. Where are you?
If I turn on my video, connection is getting lost.
Okay. Say the answer.
It is because the non-living things also grow by
Correct.
Getting deposited by materials from surroundings.
So if you consider growth as the increase in the mass and size, even non-living things grow by the accumulation of particles on it, say for example, mountains, sand mounds, etc. Okay. Then the next point that we discussed was reproduction. Reproduction is also not considered as a defining property of living things. Why, Gaia? Why it is not considered as a defining property of living things?
Ma'am, because there are some organisms that cannot reproduce.
There are some organisms, means there are some dash organisms. Some living organisms that cannot reproduce like
mule and worker, honey.
Okay. Any doubts? Nivida, you have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
You have any doubts?
No, I don't have enough.
Clear? I told that human beings, they have an added advantage and means an additional property. What is that?
They are aware. Human beings are aware of self-conscious.
Self-consciousness. Okay. We don't have much time. Let's see what is next. This we completed. Okay, next we have to begin a new topic, diversity in the living world, which we will